All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome to this another special edition of the Cool Country Podcast. We are live. I'm in Morgantown. Tyler, you are back home in
In
Buffalo.
Buffalo, West Virginia.
Yes, sir. So we all heard the disappointing news today. It's hard to even get out of my mouth. Darian DeVries has chosen to leave the Mountaineers and go play for the Indiana Hoosiers.
He's gonna
Uh,
play for him.
Well, he might as well play for him as much as
That's
he's getting
crazy.
paid. As much as he's getting paid, man, with that buyout. Yeah, he's going to coach Indiana. 19-13 record here in his one and only year at WVU. Tyler, I know you texted me as soon as this news broke, and you're like, dude, we got to go live. Right?
Yeah.
So what are your initial reactions? I'm interested to hear. We haven't discussed them yet today, so I just want to hear your thoughts, and I'll try to comment off of them.
So during the football season, we all wanted Neil gone and a new coach. And I think when we almost waited to fire Neil, I was frustrated. I was frustrated about the coaching situation with the football team. Whereas this, I'm disappointed because early in the season, he said that this was a long-term situation. He planned to stay here for a long time. He did a lot of things here that not even Hugs did in his time here. He beat the Zags. He beat Kansas in the fog. He obviously took down number 3 Iowa State. I think they were ranked number 3 at the time.
They were number 3, number 2. Yeah, they were very highly
Yeah.
ranked.
So I mean, he had an incredible for 1 year. Obviously, some down games towards the end, and then the snub, which I'll get into here in a second. But an incredible first year as a head coach at West Virginia, just for him to turn around and leave. And I say disappointed because it's not like he's going to a worse program or an equal footed program. Like, he's going to Indiana. I'm not going to pretend like Indiana is not an incredible basketball program to go to. That is closer to home for him. I mean, it's closer to Iowa, but just a little saddening. There's going to be a lot of speculation. There's going to be a lot of theories that this was planned out from the beginning, that this has been in the works for a long time, even since Tucker went down with his injury. I tweeted out on Twitter earlier that I wasn't saying anything specifically. I just wanted to put it out there that Tucker goes down with an injury. Darren says multiple weeks in a row that he's closer to coming back, and he planned on him coming back in the season, just for Tucker to announce a very late shoulder injury, shoulder surgery towards the end of the year to it took him out for the rest of the season. And then obviously the generational snub that was both West Virginia and Indiana in favor of North Carolina, and then Darren leaves for Indiana.
Yep.
It just seems like too much lined up for not something to be connected. Now, again, I'm not going to sit here and speculate and say that is the case. I truly think Darren just took the Blue Blood program job, and it is what it is. I think many coaches would take that job. But like I said, just kind of disappointed more than frustrated.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the disappointed camp more than the frustrated camp. Sort of my point of view on it, the first thing I thought of was his loyalty promises that he made right in his press conference when he was hired last year. It was just weird that I don't want to say he went back on his word, but it definitely looks like that. Actions speak louder than words. I'm not entirely sure what this action meant to DeVries, and it's up to interpretation for the university and the fans too. But I definitely felt just a little betrayed when he made that decision. It was also really weird to wake up this morning and see that Iowa was completely out of the conversation, and Indiana all of a sudden was in the conversation. Because
Yeah,
I don't know about you, but yesterday I didn't hear anything about Indiana.
It was kind of, I mean, there were maybe a speculation rumor here and there, but it was it was Iowa, and then all of a sudden it wasn't, and boom, Indiana has entered the conversation.
Yeah. But like you said, Indiana is a blue blood program.
Yeah.
They're shying away from that. They got so much history, national championships. Like it's there in Indiana, and like you say, it's closer to him. So logistically, it makes sense. I just hate to see that he used WVU as sort of a stepping stool, and I don't like the rest of the college basketball world to see us in that light.
Yeah, it's West Virginia shouldn't be a bridge program. It shouldn't be one of those. I'm just trying to boost my, resume so that one day I do get picked up by these bigger schools. Like West Virginia should be a long time opportunity for a coach that wants to stay somewhere for a long time, that's loyal to a program. And that's
Yeah.
why I liked That's why the fan base liked Huggins so much, because no matter what, Huggins was still loyal to West Virginia, and Darren DeVries wasn't. And it is what it is. Got to move on, but it definitely sucks. I apologize if you can hear the truck in the background. That was a pretty loud truck.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, again, it just sucks to see West Virginia put in that position. I'm still so happy we got Ren Baker. I'm still
Yeah.
so happy that man's still on board because
Well, what
he's
was
made
it?
two.
You go
What were
ahead.
you saying? Oh, he made the great decision to hire DeVries because even still looking back right now, it was an objectively good hire at the time. And then bringing Rich Rod back, we have yet to see if that works out, but I have faith. You can't not have faith in Ren. And I feel like he's going to try to go out and find the right candidate. Speaking of candidates, I made a little banner here that I'm going to put up. And we're going to discuss a little bit about these potential candidates for DeVries' replacement. So, Tyler, you know a lot more about these guys than I do. At least I'm assuming that you know more about these guys. The first guy that we discussed before we went live was Will Wade at McNeese. So,
yeah, I do know a little bit about Will Wade. He's probably second on my coaching hot board. Obviously, if I was gonna go out and hire someone, it would be Ben McCollum right now. And I'll get to him, but Will Wade at McNeese. McNeese is like one of those consistent teams that is in March Madness as a mid-major team. And I think this year they'll probably be one of the more popular 12v5 upsets over Clemson. So Will Wade, if he can do it at McNeese, I think he can do it here at West Virginia. Like I said, my favorite pick is Ben McCollum at Drake. In year one at Drake, Ben McCollum had a better season than what Darren DeVries did as his entire tenure at Drake. Now the rumor right now is that Iowa is targeting Ben McCollum because he's obviously from Iowa. So same situation as Darren. But like Iowa couldn't get DeVries for financial reasons, I'm hoping that plays into us being the favorite over Ben McCollum as well. And there's actually something interesting there with Ben McCollum is that he has ties to Ren Baker as well. He worked under Ren Baker. I cannot remember which school it was, but one of the schools Ren Baker used to work at, he worked under Ren Baker there. So I would love to have Ben McCollum in the old gold and blue. Obviously, Will Wade. And then there were two that you had talked about, and I know there are probably going to be some popular opinions. Excuse me, I'm blanking.
I had Chester Frazier, our assistant.
That's what I was thinking of. I couldn't think of the name. And then Calhoun.
And then Josh Schertz. Josh Schertz at Indiana State. He's 55-20 in his last 2 years.
Yeah, Josh Schertz, and then Calhoun is somebody I have also seen.
I've seen some of him.
So all of them, I don't think they're terrible options. I think outside of maybe Ben McCollum and Will Wade, you're probably downgrading from DeVries. But if you can manage to get Ben McCollum or Will Wade in Morgantown, I would be much happier about the situation if that's the case.
Yeah. I believe, just looking at the very limited information I have with these guys so far, I would approve of Ben McCollum. He'd be my choice right now. Obviously, this situation is going to develop a lot more as time goes on. And I'm not sure when the timetable for hiring someone else will be, but right now I think it's Ben McCollum. He has the Drake pedigree. He worked under Wren, like you said. So I think for me, he's number one right now. I think we're going to see candidates also pop up that aren't on anyone's radar right now, or at least some names will enter the conversation. Whether how long they'll be there or not, I don't know. But we'll see a bigger pool of guys, I think, before it actually starts to narrow down.
Yeah,
But for me, Ben McCollum.
it's open right now. Wren, just like the football search, he's going to take his time, due diligence, make sure he gets the right candidate. And then what's interesting about obviously our two favorite candidates in Ben McCollum and Will Wade is they're both still in March Madness. Games are yet to be played. McNeese and Drake still have to play Clemson and Missouri. Ideally, and I hate to say this, ideally they lose in the first round and Wren can get ahead on the coaching search because I'm pretty sure I think the portal opens in 8 days. So I'm sorry. It might.
And I just had a loud vehicle go past my window. I don't know if you could hear that.
I could not hear that, but
Okay, good.
What I was saying was Ben McCollum and Will Wade. It would be ideal if they can lose early in March Madness as much as I love a Cinderella story.
I agree. We got a question. For CB Flake here. If McCollum wouldn't jump at the chance, why wouldn't he? What would keep him from coming to Morgantown? Well, I personally think, I'll just say a few things. I think you're right. Drake is not as prestigious as WVU, and if he could come up here, that'd be a big boost to his resume. But then again, like I said before, I don't want it to be looked at as a feeder school for the Big Ten and SEC. So, like, I'm going to agree. Like, I think he would jump at the chance. But Tyler, what were you going to say?
Well, so the main, if it was between Drake and WVU, Ben McCollum comes to West Virginia, no doubt. The problem is that Iowa now has a coaching vacancy, and Ben McCollum is from Iowa, so it's going to come down to West Virginia and Iowa most likely, and it's either do you want to come to West Virginia and take a chance with somebody you have ties to in Wren Baker, or do you want to stay close to home in Iowa?
Yeah. I think obviously I would choose WVU, but again, he could be different than DeVries. Like we saw this morning, DeVries had no conversations with Iowa, and the rumors were just rumors. So it's definitely a different situation there. But WVU is the obvious choice in my mind for McCollum. But we're going to move on to. Oh yeah, I just want to talk a little bit again about, is this actually the worst week for WVU basketball ever? We still need to talk about the absolute snub of all snubs, right? Us getting left out of the tournament, because we sort of reacted to it a little bit on our last live stream, but I don't feel like that did it justice, because we had to sit and think about it for a whole hour before the women's selection started. And after that, we were just like, man, we need to get off of here. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, now we've digested it a little bit more. And I know you came in during that live stream and talked a little bit, but after sitting on it for a few days, how do you feel?
I'm going to play devil's advocate. I do think that we were snubbed, snub of all snubs, whatever you want to say. But like I said, I will play devil's advocate here and say that there is a slight case to be made in favor of UNC. Obviously, they use Tucker's injury. I think that's total bull. I don't think you can use that, especially when
he only played 8 games.
Yeah, he only played the first 8 games, and we had won 4 of our 6 quad 1 games without him. So the 6-10 record in quad 1, 4 of those wins were without Tucker. So you can't really make that excuse. However, analytically, North Carolina is the better team, and I think that's what that helped it a little bit. Again, I think it was a snub. You can't use quad 1 wins as a criteria for some teams and then not the other teams. North Carolina 1-12 against quad 1 teams. And another interesting point I saw was that they may have put North Carolina in over West Virginia is because North Carolina was undefeated in the quad 2 games, and West Virginia had several losses. I don't know the exact number, but
I think we lost 4 games in quad 2.
that
But the thing was, in quad 3 and 4 we were undefeated. North Carolina lost a quad 3 game.
yeah, yeah, and then
So
the argument to the quad 2 games as for North Carolina, they hadn't lost any quad 2 games. West Virginia had, is in the tournament you're not playing quad 2 teams. Now, if you're like a play-in against one of the lower ranked mid-majors, maybe they just happen to sneak into the quad 2 instead of quad 1. But North Carolina is going to be playing quad 1 teams, not quad 2. And their record versus our record against quad 1 teams shows that we deserve the spot. So it was snub of all snubs. There's conflict of interest there with UNC's athletic director getting the bonus because North Carolina made the tournament and him being a chairman on the selection committee.
he was the head chairman, and he got
Yeah,
a bonus $110,000 for
yeah.
North
I mean,
Carolina getting in.
absolute, total bull. I don't. It's frustrating, and now especially looking back on it, it's even more frustrating because if West Virginia makes the tournament, does Darren stay? Does he have time to enter those talks with Indiana, or does Indiana go ahead and hire a coach like Ben McCullum?
Right. And also, what if Indiana got in? Because also people are talking about Indiana deserved to make the tournament as much as we did. And also, you can look at Xavier.
Yeah,
I would argue that Indiana should have made it in over Xavier, and we should have made it in over North Carolina.
absolutely. Xavier and North Carolina had no business being in the tournament. Indiana and West Virginia both should have had those spots.
Yeah.
And if that was the case, that likely keeps Darren DeVries here because he said no to Iowa job, not because he was getting hired at Indiana, but because of the financial limitations at Iowa. And some people out there say that West Virginia is a higher pedigree job than Iowa, which I would have to agree with, even though that might be slightly biased.
I mean, yeah, I would think over Iowa that we would have a better program. We have a more historic program. Speaking of just bad days of basketball, like this is a good and bad thing, but we finished runner up in a national championship game with Jerry West, arguably one of the best college basketball players ever, right? Like, and I don't think Iowa has that kind of pedigree. So when you put it like that, and then also the NIL situation over at Iowa, we have a better NIL situation, just flat out. Like you can't argue that.
Yeah.
So that was a big reason why DeVries turned that job down. And like you said, if we were in the tournament, things would be playing out very differently right now. But then when you start to look at the loss of DeVries and then compare our record and the bad losses we had, the Arizona State loss, the Colorado loss in the tournament, probably the worst loss to come at the worst time, dude. And that was a bad loss. Like we love to, like in our past episodes, we love to put that on the players more than the coach, but how much of that was DeVries? I've been asking myself that question a lot lately.
It makes it seem like much more fishy with the whole thing that's gone down within the past couple hours between DeVries and Indiana. Did DeVries throw that game? I think you're going to get a lot of the Rich Rod to Michigan comparisons. Like, did Rich Rod throw the Pitt game so that he didn't make the national championship? Did DeVries throw Colorado so that he didn't make the March Madness tournament? It's oddly, eerily similar in that regard, especially because both times the coach has left for what is essentially a blue blood program in both football for Rich Rod and now basketball for Darren DeVries.
Yeah, you're going to have those questions pop up now that all of this stuff is going down, and I don't know. Hopefully this all settles relatively quickly, right? Like I said earlier, I believe in Ren, and I think he's going to make the right move. So
I got to tell
hopefully,
you, he's probably getting tired of this. He's every offseason, he's having to hire a new head coach for one of the big sporting teams at West Virginia University. He's had to hire Mark Kellogg. He's had to hire Rich Rod. He's obviously had to figure out the Josh Eilert situation and then Darren, and now he's got to hire another basketball coach. So he's probably getting tired of it.
dude, he's working so hard. I don't know how, but like as time goes along, his drip just gets better and better, dude. Like
he's getting stylish. He is stylish.
that jacket that he's wearing around, that varsity jacket, is nice, dude. Like whenever he went to pick up Rich Rod in the plane a couple months ago, that was all. We have to have one of the best ADs in college.
I think. I mean, I don't know all the ADs at all the different, universities, but Ren Baker's definitely got to be up there. He's done an incredible job. Almost every hire he has had to make has been a success. Derby asks, "Is this a cruel joke?" What are you talking about there, Derby?
Well, yeah. What is a cruel joke?
All right.
What is okay? Well, we can talk a little bit about women's basketball now because, unlike our men's team who got snubbed, the women got put in a fantastic position. Like you guys saw on Sunday, we're in the 6th seed in the 2nd Birmingham region, facing the play-in winner of Washington or Columbia. I think that we should. Oh, sorry. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, talk about some coincidence. North Carolina keeps West Virginia, the men's team, out, and then the West Virginia women's team has a chance to go down to Chapel Hill and hand it to them.
I think it's going to be a cool thing. I will be in Chapel Hill supporting our girls team. I'm heading out on Thursday. Hopefully, I'm going to have a fun time down there. But, man, if I see any UNC fans pull up, dude, and they start talking to me about the men's team, it ain't going to go well. But I do think that the women have a great chance to lay down some justice on the 3-seed Tar Heels that we're looking to meet up with in the 2nd round. But speaking of which, in this 1st round, should I share my screen on this? I have an ESPN article pulled up about this. I can just say it. So the Huskies are looking to play Columbia in the play-in game for the 1st round to face the Mountaineers, for the right to face the Mountaineers. The Huskies currently have a 58% chance to win, according to ESPN. The Huskies are looking to be an 11 seed if they get in. And the problem with the Huskies that I see, ESPN has us ranked as one of the top teams to be upset in the 1st round in the women's bracket, which sucks to hear. And I don't know how much I believe ESPN with all the talk that we've had recently. I don't know if I even want to believe it. But the Huskies have the top 10 in the country. They're top 10 in the country in both field goal percentage and 3-point field goal percentage. So when you talk about upsets and the fact that a lot of times we've watched our girls team just completely fall apart on defense. Like they go for steals, they get in foul trouble. That leads to a lack of motivation. We're letting the other team go on a run. They're hitting shots. Like if we end up doing the same thing in this 1st round matchup against Washington, provided that Washington wins, it could be a dangerous game for us.
It definitely could. The thing I think we have, swinging for us our way is women's basketball is a lot more chalky. I think West Virginia gets done in the 1st round. JJ's gonna do her JJ thing. Kaya is gonna be the Dennis Rodman of women's basketball. Jordan Harrison's going to go crazy like she always does. I'm not as worried about this Washington upset as some people are. Again, like you said, provided Washington wins their play-in matchup. The next round is what I'm worried about when we likely have to play North Carolina in Chapel Hill.
Yeah, I would agree. I have my eyes set on the 2nd round, but you can never look past the 1st round. By the way, Derby, yeah, we get what you mean. I think this is a sick joke. This is a cruel joke that's happening right now, man.
And I want to say what CB Flake said. DeVries and Indiana both in the Bahamas at the same time. Tucker gets hurt soon after. Like I said, I posted something out on Twitter earlier today that it was the whole Tucker situation makes this a little bit more odd. He had around $125,000 in NIL money per game. Now, it would have lessened if he had played the whole season, but because he only played 8 games, he basically had $125,000 per game, and now He got the red shirt, and he's going to go get more NIL money from a blue blood program. The whole situation was weird because Darren basically said almost every interview that Tucker was looking to come back later in the season. He's recovering well. Don't have a specific date, but he is hopeful to come back. And then all of a sudden, it's like there's no update. We're waiting forever, and boom, Tucker is undergoing shoulder surgery. Excuse me. Why wait that long if you're going to have shoulder surgery to announce it? Why wait that long after the injury to announce that you're going to have shoulder surgery? Surely you would know sooner than what we did that would happen. And like you said, DeVries and Indiana both in the Bahamas. I'm not going to say that was the case. Like, was there preliminary talks in the Bahama tournament? It's just, like you said, a little bit fishy.
I think like there definitely weren't any what am I trying to say? We got a new comment popped up. There definitely weren't any conversations about like him being the new head coach right then and there, obviously. But there were discussions about something, maybe a potential move somewhere for DeVries, right? Like Indiana, like letting him know that there was going to be an opening, like we are confident in our coach. I think there was something on some level discussed. So it is a little fishy to think about, but it's the world that we live in. College sports provides us with this kind of stuff. I don't really know what to say. Like we've been harping on it for months in our past episodes that the NCAA has just messed something up somewhere along the line. I'm not sure if it was NIL or before that, but something has just messed up the whole dynamic of college athletics, to be honest.
Tucker Brown, Indiana is a blue blood, man. They're like they've got 5 national championships, if I'm not mistaken. Their recent success is a little bit lesser so, but they are a blue blood program. So I don't know what you're talking about, man.
I feel like having Tyler in here is going to be awesome for the comment section. But by the way, for all of you guys being wondering where Matt is, Matt should be joining us here soon, but I guess time will tell when that happens. He's going to surprise us when he pops in here.
Probably.
Oh, you're a Hoosiers fan.
I will say, Tucker, that you're like the Nebraska of blue bloods, but for college football. Like you once upon a time had success and have fell off.
Yeah, I mean, like when you look back to like the 80s and 90s, right? Like Indiana they were there. So
I'll give you blue blood status, okay? But you ain't got the recent success to back it up. So just there you go. Good analogy. All right, we want to move on to brackets, talk a little bit more about women's basketball, whatever the comments think we should go.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about women's basketball. I just want to say, provided that we get past our first round matchup, like we were just talking about, I think we'll win the first round. So there's that. But then if we go face North Carolina, most likely, how are we going to match up with them? It's going to have to be the same way we played all year with the press, forcing turnovers in the full court and the half court. We're going to have to play fast, and we're going to have to hit our shots. You know, there are a lot of times where we'll shoot 50% in a game, and then we'll go out and shoot 30% in a game. Like, well, we just have those swings. So it was kind of like when the men's team had a really hot start to the year, shooting 45% from the field average, let's say, somewhere around there. And then when we started getting on our losing streak, we were shooting like 30% from the field or worse. So we need to make sure we don't fall into a slump at the important time of the tournament, and especially against a team like North Carolina, because they're a 3 seed for a reason. And then also number 3, we need to rebound. Rebounding's been a problem for us. We don't have height. But I think so long as we box out and we force turnovers, we'll be fine. So there's a good chance for us getting in the Sweet 16. And honestly, looking at the rest of the bracket overall, I could see us maybe, just maybe, making an Elite 8 or Final 4 run. So
we have a tough region. We've got to get past, obviously, like you said, the Washington, Washington matchup. If it's not Columbia, I think Washington wins that playing game. But if it is Washington, I think we get past them. But then you've got likely North Carolina, likely Duke, just to meet up with South Carolina if you make it that far. I mean,
Yeah.
I imagine South Carolina makes it that far. South Carolina's been one of the most dominant teams 2 years in a row now. So a tough region, but I think with our speed, our pressing, our defense, and JJ leading the helm, I like our chances.
Yeah, I do too. When you look at South Carolina, you're just talking about South Carolina, Coach Dawn Staley, she has had those girls in the national championship conversation for a while now. They've won a couple. South Carolina is going to be a difficult team to deal with if we get to the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight, because like also playing Duke, I actually like our chances against Duke about as much as I do against North Carolina. So there's
Very
that.
similar.
But it's going to be how can we prepare for those games with the limited amount of time that we have, and then facing that caliber of team back to back to back, right? Like we haven't really done that in our Big 12 schedule. So it's going to be interesting to see how the girls manage it in the tournament. And if we continue to win, how long can it go, right? Like, can we actually get somewhere like the Final Four? Like, I don't think we'll get to the Final Four if we have to play a South Carolina team, especially after everybody we've already played. But I feel like if we make the Sweet 16, I will be very, very happy with our season.
Yeah. I mentioned this earlier in the season. I think when we were talking about the Big 12 tournament for the Lady Mountaineers, and that we have not won more than 3 games in a row since the start of conference play, and really since that Texas game. So it's going to be interesting to see, because this isn't only just it's not a normal 3 teams in a row. It's 3 really good basketball teams in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely going to be difficult. But if anybody can do it, Coach Kellogg can do it. JJ Quinterly can do it.
That's true.
So
That's true. One of Ren's master classes, Mark Kellogg.
absolutely. All right, I think it's about that time that you were alluding to. Now that we've got all of that off our chest, and we're done ranting about DeVries. Bracket reveals.
You want to go first, big man, or me?
So yeah, I'll go first. Do you want me to show my already made bracket, or do you want me to walk through matchups?
Walk through them. Walk through them for the
Walk
audience.
through matchups. All right, give me a second here. All right, share screen. Screen.
DeVries.
There we go.
That's true, CB Flake. The girls' defense is very hard to prepare for in a quick turnaround.
Tyler, you do yours first. I'm having a little bit of issue. Pull yours up.
All righty. Well, I think you got to bring me to the front of the.
There you go.
We go. All right. I'm going to make the easy picks first. Auburn, Duke, Florida, and Houston are not having any problem. If any of them get upset, actually, I don't think it's possible. I don't see a Virginia or Purdue mishap happening again, where a 1 seed loses to a 16 seed. And in fact, I don't see any of the 2 seeds losing either. Michigan State, probably one of the best coach teams in the country. Alabama, fastest paced team in the country. St. John, one of the best stories in the country. And then Tennessee, one of the most consistently great teams the past couple of years. Now is where it gets a little bit interesting. 3 seed and lower will go region by region. Louisville, Creighton, probably the first round matchup that I'm most excited for. Louisville, an incredible story this year. Creighton is one of those teams that's always in the mix. I'm not going to go too much into analytics. There's going to be a lot of picks to make. But I had Creighton going all the way last year. I don't remember if they were a 3 seed or around there. I think they were a 3 seed. I had Creighton going all the way last year, and I regretted it when they lost. But I think Creighton gets it done this year against Louisville in that first round. Going to be a good game to watch, that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Michigan at UNC. I'm sorry, Michigan versus UC San Diego. This has been what I have seen as the most popular 12/5 as far as like a definitive upset. There's obviously that Colorado State versus Memphis
Yeah.
12v5, but this one would be a definite upset if UC San Diego can pull it off. They are fast. They shoot the three ball well, but Michigan has size. Michigan is hot right now after the Big Ten tournament. I think Michigan gets this one done. In the last stream, y'all heard me say that Yale was upsetting Texas A&M, and I'm sticking with it. This is probably my biggest upset of the bracket is 13 Yale over number 4 Texas A&M. Texas A&M has been a little inconsistent, and every March Madness there is a hero in March, a hero that is born. Typically, it's a 3-point shooting demon, just can knock the lights out. And this year, I think that is John Polakidis, if I'm saying that correctly. I totally probably butchered that, but he's been their leading scorer for Yale. Even if he's not knocking like the three down as consistently, I think he's just going to go off against Texas A&M. He's going to be the story for Yale. He's going to be that hero of March, and this is going to be the upset story. Ole Miss against the winner of San Diego State versus UNC, which I believe that game is going on right now. Is it not?
We can check. It should be, because we heard Karma, by the way, UNC having travel issues yesterday. I thought that was hilarious.
It starts at 9:10. I apologize.
Okay. So here in an hour.
Yeah, it starts soon. Whoever wins this game, I think, beats Ole Miss. Right now, I think San Diego State wins the game. But either way, I think whoever wins beats Ole Miss. UNC or San Diego State. UNC is probably one of the better teams that doesn't have the record to show for it. I talked about that earlier. Analytically, they were better than West Virginia, despite my feelings about us being snubbed. And I think UNC gets it done against Ole Miss, although Ole Miss has performed well in the toughest conference in America this year. Iowa State at Lipscomb. I don't think there's any problems there.
Nope.
I think that was actually the most popular 14/3 pick that I saw, but no problems there. Marquette, New Mexico is another very interesting matchup because every year there seems like there's a Mountain West school that makes a run. Last year, a lot of people picked New Mexico to beat Clemson. I did as well, and I was saddened when that didn't happen. This year, I don't think they get it done either. I think Marquette handles business. That is the round of 64 in the South region. Moving on to the West, we already picked Florida. UConn at Oklahoma. I'm going to rant for a second. No 6-12 team in conference play should be making the tournament. I don't care how deep a conference is. Oklahoma is 14th I think they're 13th, and Texas is 14th. They're 13th in their conference with a 6-12 conference record, and they still made the tournament. That's ridiculous. That's dumb. That's
the
stupid.
SEC bias is off the charts. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like they have 16 teams and 14 of them make it in.
Yeah. I'm going with UConn. If there's one thing I learned, despite UConn struggling, never doubt Dan Hurley. You all will see how I pick in a second against the Florida game, but I don't think UConn loses to this Oklahoma team, although they have had some moments where they showed potential. 5v12, Memphis versus Colorado State. These are always the popular upset picks, and we all know the 5 seed is the cursed seed. No 5 seed has ever won the NCAA tournament, and it's not going to be Memphis either. Colorado State's coming home with this victory. Hottest team, not the hottest, but one of the hottest teams in the country right now. This is my Mountain West team to make that run. I think they beat Memphis, and I think they even might make a run this year. Maryland Grand Canyon. I like Maryland. Not a lot of depth, but I think they get this first game done. Grand Canyon was a story last year. I cannot remember who they beat in the first round, but they had an upset in the first round, and then they competed against Alabama in the second round. A lot of people haven't beaten Maryland here. I think Maryland gets them done. They have size, just lack depth. but I think they can handle business against Grand Canyon. Missouri versus Drake. This is probably the pick I struggled the most with, actually. Drake has been in the tournament the past couple of years and could never get it done. Oh, you know what? I'm going to change it. I had Missouri going, but I like Ben McCullum, and I like them Drake Bulldogs. I'm going to pick Drake over Missouri.
I like that pick.
I did have Missouri over Drake originally. I'm going to change another one so that I don't have, too many upsets. But I like Drake in that matchup. I really have gone back and forth on it. That's a 50-50 game for me. That's a coin flip. Could be an upset, could not. I like Ben McCullum, and I think Drake moves on. Texas Tech versus UNC Wilmington. Texas Tech is going to handle business, no problem. They performed well in the Big 12 tournament. They performed well all season. We obviously know they blew West Virginia out by 20 at home. Just had to throw a little sadness in there. Kansas at Arkansas. Bill Self versus Calipari. Probably one of the best coaching matchups in the entire tournament. Hunter Dickinson has been inconsistent, to say the least, along with Kansas. Kansas shows moments where they can beat Duke, and then they show moments where they can lose to a mid-major school. I like Arkansas in this matchup. This is my first 10/7 team. I think Arkansas can get it done against Kansas.
We could both agree on that one.
There we go. So Kansas goes home in the first round. As much as I love to see Big 12 success, I think Kansas goes home against Arkansas. Sorry, that was probably a little cringe. Mississippi State Baylor. I have an interesting note here. I think, depending on Cooper Flagg's status, we all know Cooper Flag went down in the ACC tournament, and it didn't matter because Duke still won. But without Cooper Flag, depending on how Cooper Flag is during this tournament, injury-wise, which from what I've heard, he'll be healthy. If Cooper Flag is not, Duke will win in the first round, and I think Duke wins in the second round if it's Baylor, which is who I'm picking. However, if Mississippi State wins this game and Cooper Flag is not 100%, I think Mississippi State upsets Duke in the second round. So I just want to put that out there, that I'm picking Baylor in this first round matchup against Mississippi State. But I think that if Mississippi State gets there and Cooper Flag is not 100%, Mississippi State upsets Duke in the second round. Oregon Liberty, I think we talked about this on the last stream, did we not? The Fiesta Bowl rematch from 2023. Oregon will get the best of Liberty again.
We did talk about that.
I don't have much to say about that one.
I don't either.
Arizona against Akron as well. Not a whole lot to say. This is an interesting matchup. BYU versus VCU. A lot of people picking VCU. And actually, I think some odds makers have VCU favored. You obviously can see ESPN Bet Sportsbook has BYU -2.5. But Igor Demon is going to go off in March Madness. I think BYU makes a run. So I think they handle business against VCU. Close game, could come down to the wire. One of those like good March Madness games that's high scoring, just both teams shooting the ball well, and it's determined last second. So very, very well could be that kind of game, but I think BYU comes out on top. Wisconsin and Montana, not high on Montana. I like Wisconsin. They're a consistently good team. And then same thing with St. Mary's versus Vanderbilt. St. Mary's is going to slow the pace down, play incredible defense, and I think they get the best of Vanderbilt. And we already talked about Alabama. That finishes it for the East region and brings us to the Midwest. I do want to say that everybody I have seen has talked about Auburn getting a terrible draw in terms of who they have to play in the second and third round. And
yeah, I've seen some of that too.
Louisville, Creighton, or Michigan, A&M, and then eventually likely Ole Miss, Iowa State, Marquette, Michigan State. I think Houston has the worst draw because as bad inconsistent wise and up and down Gonzaga has been, I think Gonzaga wins against Georgia. That's going to be one of the more fun first-round games, and I don't want to skip over that, but I think the Gonzaga or Georgia matchup for Houston is much, much harder than the Louisville-Creighton matchup for Auburn, which is going to sound a little hypocritical when y'all see my pick for, my Sweet 16 picks, but that is not a good draw for Houston. Gonzaga is one of the best teams analytically. I think they can give Houston a run for their money. So that's not a good draw for Houston, even though a lot of people are saying that Auburn had the bad draw in playing Louisville or Creighton. Clemson McNeese, we talked about Will Wade during the coaching segment, talking about Darren leaving, Will Wade potentially being a replacement, is going to likely be another popular 12-5 pick, but Clemson shoots the ball well. They've obviously proven themselves against some quality teams this year. They have beaten Duke. They beat North Carolina. They played Louisville close. They beat Kentucky. I like Clemson in this matchup, even though I like Will Wade as a coach. Purdue High Point, I think Purdue handles business, even though they're not the typical, big boys down low. Purdue, toughen them out. They don't have Zach Edey anymore, but I like Purdue in that matchup. This is the one that I'm going to change. Illinois versus Texas or Xavier. I think I was going to take Texas in this game because talent-wise, Texas is an incredible team. They're a lot higher than 11 seed talent-wise. I guess that's a spoiler. I think Texas beats Xavier in the play-in game. So talent-wise, Texas is a great team. They're a lot higher than 11 seed. Records-wise, they haven't shown it. They're very inconsistent, and I don't want to pick too many 11/6 upsets. I've already picked UNC or San Diego State over Ole Miss and Drake over Missouri. I'm going to take Illinois. This is, again, one of those 50-50 games. Between Illinois, Texas, Xavier, and Missouri, Drake, I think one of those are upsets. I don't think Missouri and Illinois comes out of it. Comes out of the first round. Kentucky, I think they beat Troy. Out of all the 14 seeds, Troy's probably the best and most likely to pull an upset. Lipscomb, Montana, and UNC Wilmington being the other. So I think Troy's the best 14 seed, but Kentucky's a good team in the hardest conference. Kentucky's going to get out of the first round. UCLA, Utah State. I changed my mind on this one a bunch too. This is another one of those 50-50 games, and it makes sense because it's a 7-10 game. We see a couple of those every year. I had Utah State, but I'm leaning UCLA. Again, could go either way. I'm going to settle on UCLA. I think the bracket ends up being a little bit more chalky this year than usual. We saw a really chalky bracket last year. I think it's similar this year, and then we already talked about Tennessee and Wofford. So that is your round of 64. Is that the round of 64? Going on to the round of 32? Yes. Big boy upset coming. Creighton over Auburn. I told you I had them going all the way last year. This is not the same Creighton team, but Auburn has been shaky the past couple weeks. Obviously lost to Florida in the SEC championship. Creighton, I think, can get hot these first couple rounds and make their way to the Sweet 16, beating number 1 Auburn, and probably what will end up being, if it comes true, obviously, will end up being the largest upset in my
That'd be
opinion.
awesome.
I would love to see the SEC's 1 seeds go down, Florida and Auburn. Now, Florida, I don't know about because I really like this Florida team. They do just about everything right. They're well-rounded. Obviously, I'm not on Florida yet. We'll get there. But Yale's upset March Madness Cinderella run ends after 1 game against A&M. Actually, I didn't even touch on this. Yale last year upset Auburn as a 13 seed. And I have them upsetting another SEC team in Texas A&M in the first round as a 13 seed. Very interesting. I think they do it twice. But Michigan gets the best of them in the round of 32. Michigan goes on to play Creighton in the Sweet 16. Excuse me. Iowa State, despite some injuries, I love them.
Yep.
West Virginia got you, and that's why I'm rooting for you. Michigan State is going to handle business against Marquette. Good coach team, and that's what I trust come March is 3-point shooting teams and good, well-coached teams. I had to think about this one. UConn and Florida. Florida's the better team, no question. But Dan Hurley is an incredible coach. He's the back-to-back defending champion, and I think UConn can give Florida a run for their money. Now, I'm going to stick with Florida because I think Florida is the better team, the more well-rounded team, and the team built for a deep March Madness run. But don't be surprised if you see UConn upset Florida. If last year was the first time, I believe, in like 12 years, a 8 or 9 seed did not knock out a 1 seed.
Wow. I didn't know that.
I think that there will be an 8 over 9 this year, or an 8 or 9 over 1. Obviously, I have Creighton upsetting Auburn because Auburn's been a little shaky towards the end of the year. Florida's been good, but don't be surprised if you see UConn upset Florida. Maryland, Colorado State. There's my Cinderella. Colorado State is main hot. They beat Memphis in the first round. They beat a shorthanded Maryland team. Maryland has struggled depth-wise this year. I think Colorado can have one of those good shooting nights where Maryland's off and Maryland gets tired late. Colorado State meets Florida in the Sweet 16. Drake, Texas Tech. This is where Drake ends. Excuse me, I cannot speak. Drake's end runs. My goodness. I really like this Texas Tech team. Obviously, they had Big 12 Player of the Year, JT Toppin. Love Ben McCollum, but I don't think he beats this Texas Tech team that's been hot all season. Arkansas St. John. Again, I don't see any world where Arkansas upsets St. John. They've been one of the best stories in college basketball this season.
Now, I'll put it out there for when I make my bracket. I am a Rick Pitino enjoyer.
Indeed.
So,
Rick Pitino, St. John, you're cooking. Keep it going. I think you get past Arkansas, even if you play Kansas. Like, if Kansas wins that first-round matchup against Arkansas, I think St. John handles business against Kansas too. They'll make a deep run this year. That brings me to the East bracket. Now, I did say that if Mississippi State met Duke in the round of 32, I thought that Duke had the chance to be upset, especially if Cooper Flag wasn't healthy. I'm going to play this as Baylor wins and Cooper Flag is healthy. Duke makes a run. Oregon, Arizona. I love Zona. They played well in the Big 12 tournament. They played better in the Big 12 tournament than they did to start the year. They obviously struggled to start the year, got hot in Big 12 play, did well in the tournament. I think Arizona handles business against Oregon. BYU, Wisconsin. I told you BYU is going to get hot from 3. They're going to make a deep run. I don't love Wisconsin, mainly because I don't love the Big 10 this year. They're one of those teams that's always in the discussion for, around the anywhere from a 6 to higher seed, Wisconsin, but I think BYU gets the better of them. I love this BYU team. I think they can shoot the ball. They've got several people that can get hot at any time, and the second they do, it's like that they just shut the lights off for the other team. I like this BYU team. St. Mary's over Alabama. This one was hard because Alabama's that, they're almost impossible to keep up with. Their pace is ridiculous. If you've ever seen the trapezoid of excellence graph, they are like outside of the trapezoid of excellence further than anybody else. And if you don't know what the trapezoid of excellence is, it's like pace and then some team analytic ratings. And almost all national champions have come from inside the trapezoid of excellence. Auburn is outside of the trapezoid of excellence like nobody's business, but it's because they play so fast and their offense is so relenting that they win. St. Mary's is like the opposite. They like slow the game down, play good defense, and I think they could slow Alabama down. If Alabama has a poor shooting night, St. Mary's very well could win this game. I was high on St. Mary's last year, not as much this year, but I think they could pull an upset against Alabama. Still, I'm going to go number 2 seeded Alabama to take care of St. Mary's and meet BYU in the next round. Houston versus the Zags. Like I said, this was probably the toughest round 2 matchup for a 1 seed, but I still like Houston. They, in my opinion, have been the best team all year. A lot of people say it's been the other 3 1 seeds, Duke, Auburn, or Florida. I think Houston, offensively and defensively, have been the best team all season long. I think they handle business against the Zags. Clemson handles business against Purdue. This is not one of those typical Purdue teams where you've got a lot of height down low. I like Clemson in that matchup. Illinois versus Kentucky. Kentucky's going to continue going. They're a really good team. Obviously, one of those blue blood programs that's, used to being there, used to being in this situation, even though they've had 2 to 3 years. They were upset last year by Oakland. Yeah. I can't even think of the guy's name. Who was the ridiculous shooter that beat Kentucky last year?
He literally played for the Thunder G League team.
I know, and I'm a Thunder fan. I can't think of his name. I know his last name.
Jack Golke.
Jack Golke. That's what it is. Kentucky's going to go on a run. That was a little ramble, but Kentucky's going to they're going to take care of Illinois. Tennessee is like Houston, just not quite there analytically, in that Tennessee is really good on both offense and defense. I think they handle business against UCLA. I don't really like UCLA. I don't have them making a deep run. I'm not a huge fan of UCLA making a deep run. That brings us to the Sweet 16 matchups, where we have Creighton versus Michigan. And I think Creighton continues to the Elite Eight. Creighton, I think, gets the benefit of the doubt. They have to take care of an Auburn team that's been a little bit shaky, and then they take care of a really hot Michigan team in a conference that's been a little bit questionable this year. I think Creighton can make an Elite Eight run and get there against Michigan. Iowa State, Michigan State. I like Michigan State. Again, well-coached team, just about as good as of a coach team as you can have with Tom Izzo. Even though the Big Ten's not been great this year, I like Michigan State to make a deep run. They'll take care of Iowa State with some injury issues for Iowa State. I'm going to assume Cooper Flagg stays healthy, like I said, and Duke will take care of Arizona. This is my upset pick. BYU will take care of Alabama. It's going to be a shootout, going to be one of those like 94 to 92 games where BYU wins on a last-second three-pointer. That's how that game's going to go. BYU is going to beat Alabama. Florida, Colorado State. That's where Colorado State's Cinderella story ends. Florida's too good of a team. And then Texas, St. John. I almost want to take the Johns, but I really like this Texas Tech team. I'm going to take Tech. Try not to overdo the 2 seeds in the – I don't want to go too chalky. You know what I mean? Houston will take care of Clemson. Tennessee, Kentucky. Kentucky has beat Tennessee both times this year. It's hard to beat a team 3 times. I think Tennessee can finally get over the Kentucky hump. That gives us my Elite Eight. Creighton, Michigan State, Duke, BYU, Florida, Texas Tech, Houston, and Tennessee. Michigan State ends Creighton's run. Duke ends BYU's run. Texas Tech upsets Florida in a great game. This is, again, going to be one of those close games decided towards the end. I like Texas Tech to make a run back to the Final Four again. And then I'm taking Houston. That gives us our Final Four. Tom Izzo's Michigan State. That's why I've got them all the way there, because I like Tom Izzo.
Man.
Texas Tech with JT Toppin, Duke with Cooper Flagg, and Houston, the most consistent team in my eyes. Give me the Michigan State. Give me Houston, and Houston wins it all. I'll give us a 137 final total.
Wow. I already made a bracket, right? And we did that tiebreaker, or I did that tiebreaker at the end. We were 1 point off. I have 136.
Interesting. I have 137.
That's crazy.
Houston takes it home.
That's crazy. Okay, so you have Houston winning the national championship, which I actually like that pick, as you will see whenever I reveal my bracket.
I think
And
Houston has been so hot all year long. They've won what, like 26 straight or something. They like waltzed through the Big 12 championship. I don't see a team as deep and as consistent as Houston is.
yeah, Houston's strong, man. I mean, like, you look at their football program and you have no idea their basketball program's as good as they are.
Yeah,
Like, their two programs couldn't be any different. So I like Houston. So all right, let me go ahead and you're cool with moving your bracket off the screen. I'll put mine on the screen.
indeed. I
All right.
will.
So there we go. So here's my fresh bracket because I already made one. But I'm not going to show that just because I don't want to go through every individual matchup without picks made. So here we go. Starting off, Auburn wins first round, Duke wins first round. I'm just going to do these sort of in random order. Like you sort of segmented them. I'll just do them in random order. Louisville and Creighton. I like your pick of Creighton. Me and you both agree that Creighton can get it done against Louisville. And even we proved that Louisville is questionable sometimes.
Good matchup
So
either way. Going to be a great first round matchup.
I think so too. A lot of these 8-9 games, the 5-12 games, the 6-11 games are going to be so good to watch. Like when
Yeah.
the tournament starts, you just got to sit down with some popcorn and an ice cold drink if you're choosing, and just sit and watch all day because that is one of the best parts about college athletics is March Madness. Moving on, Michigan and UC San Diego. UC San Diego is the first school in history, if I read this correctly, the first school in history in their first year of D1 participation to have both their men's and women's basketball team in the NCAA tournament.
I didn't
So,
know that. Interesting little fact there.
so yeah, hats off to UC San Diego for that. And because of that, I haven't beaten Michigan.
I
It's
like
going to
that pick.
be,
That's
yeah.
definitely
So,
one I can see happening.
Michigan won the Big Ten, but I think UC San Diego riding their high that they're on right now is going to be Michigan. And another upset pick, I have Yale beating A&M.
So you have a
So
12-13 matchup.
I have a 12-13 matchup in the round of 32. So it's
Very
a
interesting.
long shot, but then again, when you're choosing March Madness matchups, you have to look for that stuff. So I'm going to move over to Mississippi State and Baylor. I'm going to go Mississippi State here. You already did most of the in-depth stuff, so I'm just going to run down and choose what I'm feeling. So this is kind of going to be like if Jit was here and he was making a bracket.
That's
It's going to be
fair.
kind of the same vibe.
I mean, it's madness anyway. You can't look too deep into the analytics because as much as analytics matter, it's called March Madness for a reason. Like
Exactly.
the team that plays better that day is going to win, and that's how it's going to go.
Like this is probably the most ridiculous tournament in all the sports.
Oh, it is,
So,
hands down.
we look at this matchup: Oregon and Liberty. I got Oregon. Arizona and Akron. I got Arizona. Arizona is still underrated. I feel like Arizona is so good. Moving down BYU, I got BYU over VCU. Wisconsin, not much of a question over Montana. I got Vanderbilt over St. Mary's. We're talking about all the SEC hype. Prove it to me. All right. So then we got Alabama, Robert Morris, Alabama. I got there. Move over here. Ole Miss over whoever the play-in is. I believe either way. Iowa State, I got over Lipscomb, even though that's going to be one to watch, like you were saying earlier. I got Marquette, and then I got Michigan State. So that fills out the South and East.
There we
Move
go.
down. I got Florida and Houston. I don't have a 16 beating a 1. I have UConn easily over Oklahoma. This matchup's going to be fun to watch. I got Memphis though. I don't think an upset happens there. I got Maryland over Grand Canyon. Drake over Missouri. We both have that pick. I have Tech. And then I have Arkansas beating Kansas, just like you do. That's gonna be another great game to watch. The two coaches, Bill Self and John Calipari, going at it. That's gonna be awesome. St. John's, I got not much of a contest there. Gonzaga over Georgia, Clemson, Purdue, Illinois, Kentucky, UCLA, and Tennessee. So I'm picking all the favorites in the Midwest region, which could be dangerous.
The Midwest is where I see the least upset potential. I think the biggest upset, some people have picked the High Point over Purdue, and then obviously there's going to be a lot of McNeese over Clemson. But other than that, like I don't think Wofford gets over Tennessee. I could see Utah State taking down UCLA. I don't see Troy taking down Kentucky.
No.
There's very little upset Cinderella run potential in the Midwest region.
There's a special little Neil Brown connection going on here with Troy and Kentucky. I thought that was funny when I first
There
saw
we
it.
go, the Neil Brown Bowl.
But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to who's going to make it to the Sweet 16. So I got Auburn here, beating Creighton. Here, I think UC San Diego's momentum runs out and Auburn faces Yale. Moving over here, I got Duke over Mississippi State. Then I got Arizona over Oregon. What else? I have Iowa State over Ole Miss and Michigan State over Marquette. I have BYU over Wisconsin and then Alabama over Vanderbilt. Fair enough?
Okay, so we've got the same matchups in the East region. We both have BYU, Alabama, Duke, Arizona. We both have Iowa State facing Michigan State. I have Creighton facing Michigan.
Yeah. So, that's the one side where we're completely different.
Yeah, so we're that top of the South region. We've got a little different, but everything else we're, similar.
We're cooking.
Yeah.
All right, so moving down, I am not like you. I think Florida gets it done over UConn.
Well, I said they do get it done. I just said watch out for it.
Oh, yeah, you're right. My bad.
I did pick Florida. Just watch.
Here, I have Memphis beating Maryland. So a 5 seed going further than people may expect. I have Texas Tech over Drake, and I have St. John's over Arkansas. I don't think that's much of a contest.
Yeah.
That just speaks to how Kansas has been this whole season, to be honest. Houston over Gonzaga. I have Purdue over Clemson, Kentucky over Illinois, and then Tennessee over UCLA. Go back up here, unless you wanna discuss this.
So you've got Memphis taking down Maryland, which I had Colorado State taking down Maryland. So either way, we've got Maryland losing in the second round. We both got Tech and the Johnnies facing each other. You took Purdue over Clemson. That I have different. And then we both got Kentucky, Tennessee.
Okay. So not that different.
Any particular reason Purdue over Clemson? I mean, they're obviously the chalk pick, but.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Purdue is going to be riding their success they've had the past few years. I know they got upset a few years ago in the first round, but that gave them the pedigree to be able to go to the national championship game, and they know what the journey's like. They still have players left over from that team.
So they do have the experience. So
yeah, I believe they can get past Clemson. They're better on paper. They were a factor in the Big Ten all year, even though they didn't win it. So
either way, I like your Sweet 16 that you have.
Yeah. So let's go up here. I have Auburn beating Yale.
That's expected.
I have Michigan State beating Iowa State. Just like you, I have BYU beating Alabama. BYU can get hot. BYU is a good shooting team. And then here, I have a very good upset, Arizona beating Duke.
Interesting. So I thought about it. Arizona and BYU or Alabama back-to-back for Duke is dangerous. I think that could go either way.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, Arizona is so underrated, right? And Cooper Flagg, is this a one-and-done year for him? Let's be honest. I think so.
Probably.
So is he really, I don't want to say is he not going to care about how far he gets, but it's not going to be at the forefront of his mind. The forefront of his mind is going to be his health, especially coming off of an injury, and keeping his draft stock high.
Would you, regardless of if he's healthy or not, would you sit Cooper Flagg in that first round against either American, and I cannot remember the other team that they may play?
I wouldn't. I would play him. Just because, the tournament's unpredictable.
That's true.
You don't want Cooper having the wrong mindset going into the tournament either.
I think I would have him dressed, but I still think I might sit him because
that's what I was about to say.
Duke finished out the ACC tournament without Cooper Flagg and won it all. So
that's what I was about to say.
Yeah, so it could go either way. I would have him dressed. I don't know if I'd play him unless something interesting happened.
So yeah, anyway, that's the Elite Eight that I got there. move down here. I got Florida over Memphis, Houston over Purdue. Houston's very strong. Florida, like I don't see many things that Florida does wrong at all, just like Houston. I have what did I have for this on my other bracket? I forget. I think it was basically a coin toss for who would win here.
Both of those
But
are. You have a 2v3 and a 2v3. So
yeah, I mean, I got Tennessee here. Actually, no, I don't. I have Kentucky. I have
I like
Kentucky beating
Kentucky facing
Tennessee. Yeah,
Houston. So.
I have Kentucky beating Tennessee. Hey, same thought and everything. Look at that. I'm still trying to debate here what I like. Do I go with the Big 12?
I like the Big 12 chances this year.
I'll put Texas Tech there. It's going to be hard because St. John's is so good. But when you think about the conferences, Big 12 is a very, very tough conference. People do not like to look at how difficult the Big 12 is, especially in basketball, regardless of the amount of teams that got into the tournament, right? Like Big 12 is a good conference. Let's go back here. What am I? Oh, yeah, I'm missing these picks. I have Auburn over Michigan State. I have Arizona over BYU.
So
And
you have
down here,
Arizona making a Final Four run. Interesting.
I have Arizona making a Final Four run, yes. And here, I have Florida over Texas Tech and Houston over Kentucky. So here's our Final Four. From here, I have Florida beating Auburn, Houston beating Arizona. And then for the national championship, I have the Florida Gators winning the whole thing.
The only thing I think is a little iffy is you have 3 1 seeds, which is a little too chalk for my liking.
I agree.
Yeah.
But the only one seed that I could see falling off is Auburn, like you were saying, just because the ending to their season was a little suspect.
There's definitely opportunities for everybody. Like I think that Gonzaga matchup is probably going to be the hardest for Houston. Auburn is that either Creighton or Louisville. I could see them going off there. And then Florida, I feel like Florida's got an easy path all the way other than that UConn or Texas Tech game. Obviously, I have Texas Tech going over Florida, but I could very well see Florida going.
Yeah, like we just keep alluding to how crazy the tournament is. Like there are so many hypotheticals.
It is definitely, you're not going to get a perfect bracket. Quintillion chance, 1 in quintillion or whatever it is. It's up there, but don't overthink it. Just have fun. I like both of our brackets. Both of them are thought out. I like the Arizona Final Four run. I think that's fun. And then I like the Florida pick. Like we said, Florida, they obviously won the SEC. They have been extremely consistent. They're extremely well-rounded. They can shoot the ball. They can rebound the ball. They don't turn the ball over. I like the Florida pick, even though I have Houston.
Well, at least we both have Houston in the championship game, right? So
yeah, that's true.
Even though that, like you were saying, they still have a really hard draw in their region.
True.
So, whenever we get, we'll have to get Matt back in here for another episode. I don't think it'll be another live like we're doing now. We'll get Matt back in here, have him give us his bracket. We'll see if Jit wants to do a bracket too. That'd be cool because like March Madness is just so, yeah, exactly. It's just vibes. Like there's so much up to interpretation of whoever's making the bracket. Like you can look at all the analytics you want, but at the end of the day, it's March Madness. So it'd be cool to see him make a bracket.
I want to say, I've seen a lot of West Virginia fans saying that they're not going to watch March Madness or they can't bring themselves to fill out a bracket because of the snub job from the committee and then followed by Darren's leaving. Just remember, we're not watching because of UNC making the tournament. We're watching because St. Peter's can make a run. We're watching because Loyola Chicago can make it to the Final Four. That's the reason we're watching. We watch for the upsets.
Yeah, for sure.
Matt Howe is in the comment section, however, and he says No shot. Florida wins. Sorry, I couldn't be in tonight, but the ball knowledge bracket is coming soon.
Oh man, he's throwing heat at us.
He
Look,
is. Well, not
look
at
at his
me.
profile
He's
picture,
throwing heat
just
at you.
completely overtaking your camera. That is hilarious.
I know. He's covering me up. So Matt Howe, well, I don't want to expose, but I was going to ask who you had as the natty, who's winning. But don't spoil. We'll get your bracket somewhere before the madness starts.
Hopefully, yeah.
But West Virginia fans, tune into March Madness because, like I said, we don't watch for UNC. We watch for the Cinderella runs. Loyola Chicago is the first one that comes to my mind. I remember watching every game of that. Loyola Chicago was probably the best March Madness run of all time.
Yeah.
All will be revealed in due time. Good
So
stuff.
yeah, so I think that's going to call it for our live.
I think
So
it will.
thank you, all of you guys, for watching. We got 150 viewers in the house right now. Thank you to each and every single one of you for watching. Tell us how you like the setup. We've been using a new setup for these past couple live videos. We want to hear your feedback on it. We really like it. Makes things easy for us. Did Matt say something again? Yeah, all will be revealed in due time. Yeah. So, again, thank you guys. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Comment on all our old videos. We'll be making new ones here soon. Like up the live streams. Go follow all our socials. We have them up above our heads on the stream. And yeah, that's going to call it. So from me and Tyler, we will see you on the next show.
Goodbye, America.